Hey, this is hrjr Jr. and welcome to another episode of the Ice Talks, where we implement change every day. Hey, hrjr Jr. here, also known as hrjr, your motivational coach, and welcome to another episode of the Ice Talks. Oh, yes, and if you don't know what motivation means, motive plus action equals results, and results equals success. I want to make a preface before I get into the meat of this podcast. Every so often, I may extend an invitation to my social media following to give me suggestions about topics that you'd like to hear me discuss. Now, in doing so, I want you to understand that there are topics that I will discuss on the podcast, and there are topics that I may not discuss on the podcast. I will not touch on religion. I will not touch on politics. And while I am very conscious in the plight and struggle of my people, black people in America today, as well as historically, those hot button topic issues I'm not going to touch on as well. It's not to disassociate myself with those issues. I'll speak about those issues on other platforms and other venues. But that's not what the Ice Talks is about. The Ice Talks is my platform that I use to reach out to the better spirit in everyone, to reach out to the higher angels in all of us. And as for those who are racist, bigoted, prejudiced, closed-minded, narrow-minded, stupid-minded, whatever-minded, I'm not even talking to them anyway. I don't expect them to hear any of this, so I'm not worried about what they're checking for, whether or not they're checking for me. All right? So, again, moving forward, the Ice Talks is going to be about positive motivation, inspiration type stuff. Okay, so as I said, I opened an invitation to members of my social media following to give me suggestions about what they thought or what they think, they would like to hear me speak about. And today's topic was suggested by my brother Willel. And he wanted me to speak on people's lack of social skill due to the use of social media, or as a result of the use of social media. Now, what I will say is this: social media has come a long way in just the past 25 years or so. And I'll say that because, I think I got my first America Online account in like 92 or 93. And I think before there was America Online, it was Prodigy, I think it was called. And there was America Online was something else. The name escapes me at this time. It's some real funky name, but the name escapes me at this time. Anyway, but it wasn't until, I don't think it was until the early 2000s where we had, the MySpace, BlackPlanet.com, and of course, Facebook, the mega monster that came and took all of them out. And now we have Instagram and Tumblr and Pinterest and so many other, Snapchat, a whole lot of other venues and platforms for social media. However, what I think my brother wanted me to get into is just how lacking people are as a result of social media. And I'll position it this way. How, and I'll pose it as a question, even better. How has social media, or how does social media dictate the course of your life? What do you do when you get up in the morning? Do you wake up a couple minutes early, roll over, pick up your phone and check your news feed, your timeline, or what have you? Do you get up before you go to sleep? Do you lay in bed scrolling through the gram, scrolling through Pinterest, or do you spend hours cumulative over the course of a day chatting on Facebook, responding to posts and threads and conversations and so on and so forth? And how does that affect you? See, one of the things I learned early on in my social media journey, if you will, was that people see the world through their own private, personal lens, okay? And they expect everyone else to see the world the same way. They'll never admit it. As a matter of fact, they'll deny that. They'll say, no, I understand you have your own opinion. I respect people's opinions, yada, yada, yada. But disagree with that person, and it's a problem. Or let someone disagree with you. See, me being as outspoken as I am, I know I run off at the mouth and I spew out my ideas and I vent and so on and so forth. And you know what? I have a lot of ideas and beliefs that I know people don't agree with. But here's the crazy thing. When people disagree, what they tend to do is they don't disagree to prove me wrong. They disagree because they just don't like what was said. Or now, if you could prove me wrong, that's a whole different thing. I can accept correction, all right? But people will disagree because what they want is for you to agree with them. They want you to subscribe to what they think, all right? Which is ridiculous. Let's have a debate. Let's prove me wrong. Or do you want to argue? You just want to go back and forth. I can play either way, but a lot of people are very immature. One of the things I say about Facebook is that it has become the new fountain of youth, because within the confines of Facebook, at least in the United States, what you will find are grown ass people. And yes, I'm using the ass word, and I'm doing my best not to cuss in these podcasts. But on Facebook, you will find grown ass people acting like they are still in high school or even middle school. All right? You will find, listen, there are groups, Facebook chat groups that I belong to, and people that I know, and cliques and so on and so forth. And just, within the threads themselves, within the conversations themselves over the years, I've seen people be so petty. Now, I have a nickname for myself, #PettyMurphy. So if you see #PettyMurphy in anything I post, know that it's coming from a place of humor. But it's petty, all right? It's petty humor. But there are people who, they have to have it their way. They have to see it. You have to see it their way. And if you don't, then it's going to be a problem. And we're going to have an argument, yada, yada, yada. It was funny I said have an argument. There's a gentleman who, at one time, we were very good friends, I like to think. But people's paths tend to go in different directions. But one thing I can't take away from what the gentleman said, I won't say his name because he doesn't deserve that much. But ironically, that relationship fell apart due to social media. But the one thing he said I think he said about Facebook in particular, but it applies to social media overall, and that's the best thing about, or the greatest thing about social media, is that you can get on here and you can say whatever it is that you want. But the worst thing about social media is you can get on here and you can say whatever it is you want. Now, when I got on Facebook, I saw the potential early on to use Facebook as a networking tool. And Facebook came into my life when I was at a point where I was beginning to structure my business. And so having an idea what I wanted to do moving forward with my life, I knew I saw this vehicle as something that could help me. And so basically I had to treat it with respect. Now, I've had my fun. I do have my fun on Facebook. I'm not going to front. I'm not going to lie. And I've gotten into plenty of battles with people on Facebook as well. I even got, my dad called me one night because he got mad at something I wrote. And I'm like, Dad, dude, it's like 1:15 in the morning. You really mad about something on Facebook? But, we laughed about it a couple of days later. But, so you could get on here, you could say whatever it is you want, but is that the responsible thing to do? How does social media guide and direct your life? I say this jokingly, and I dare anyone listening to actually go through with this. I don't have the heart to. But on Facebook, and I'm sure many other social media platforms, I'm not familiar with all of them, but they have your relationship status. So you could put single, married, committed relationship, engaged, right? But then Facebook has this one category that, whoever thought this category up should spend a weekend in hell for this category. And that category is, it's complicated. Who in their right mind puts up it's complicated? Provided your mate doesn't have access to your page, you can't see your social media, then fine, it's complicated. But man, I wish I would, even if my wife and I argue about something, I wish I would put it's complicated. That's crazy. But yet and still, this is yet another way people's social skills are diminishing by their use of social media. People would rather text than call. Now, that's not social media. That's just technology right there. But at the same time, you can use social media to communicate with people. I've had all-day conversations via Facebook, just by participating in a conversation thread, more so than actually having a conversation with the person. And the funny thing is, because again, as I was saying before, I've come to use Facebook as a tool. If I were to get into certain debates with certain people and certain organizations and certain issues, I would much rather have that conversation via instant message on social media, even though it's like one-on-one, because, and I've had this happen, somebody would say something to me on the phone, and, like, okay, well, I gotta get the phone. Let's just chat this up, because I can't be on the phone right now. So we'll chat something up, and we'll have a whole conversation on chat, and then they'll say something in the chat, and then we get around a whole group of people where we got to talk about that issue, and then that person says something totally backwards from what we said during that conversation on the phone and in the text. But in the text, I can go back. See, people forget what I used to do for a living. I'm a retired police officer. All right, you guys spent your whole lives watching TV, so you know what I'm about to say. What you say can and will be used against you. All right, and people don't realize that. People don't realize that with social media, what you put out there stays out there. Whether it's pictures of your family or pictures of your body, pictures of you in a suit or pictures of you in your birthday suit. What you put out there stays out there. What you put out there in words stays out there. People can go back 10, 20 years if they want to look hard enough, and they know how, and they will find things that you said. There are people who can't get jobs today because of the craziness they put just having fun on social media. So, moving forward, let's all reach for our better angels. Let's all try to be more responsible with what we do with this tool called social media. All right? Let's focus more on seeing the other person's point of view than just looking at the world through our own personal lens and expecting the world to see it our way. Listen, I tell people all the time, you don't have to agree with everything I say. And I do a lot of talking. I don't need agreement. That's another thing. People need to be agreed with. I don't need agreement. I don't need that consensus to make me feel validated. I believe in myself and I believe in what I say. So moving forward, let's make an effort. Let's make an effort. All right, let's make a pact right now to do better, be more responsible in what we say, be more responsible in what we do, be more responsible in what we share. This is an interesting topic. I may bring this up in a Facebook chat and, come back with it with more, after I get other people's input, which is always going to be interesting when I ask for other people's input. Listen, I like this. I like asking other people's opinions. Sometimes I don't like getting other people's opinions, but I'm going to head out. We'll do this again real soon. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Ice Talks, where we implement change every day. See you soon.